Hello and welcome to the Business Show podcast here on Radio Newark, 107.8 FM and across DAB in Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire. My name's Simon Gabitas. I am one of your hosts and I'm joined by Mr. Michael Hardy. Hello, Michael. How are you?
Hello, Simon. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. We're not sat here in Christmas jumpers this time.
No. We're into January 2025. Hopefully everybody's had a great break and got a bit of festive spirit into them and are now looking forward to what 2025 brings and all the exciting things that lay ahead of us.
That sounds great, very exciting. That said, I did reach into my pocket to try and find a mint earlier on and found a Christmas serviette still. So I'm going to see if I can keep that in my pocket until about April or May, just so I can pull it out at a business club meeting at some point. But Michael, tell us, we're in January. What is happening on today's show?
So we've got last year's meeting highlights. Last year's meeting highlights, the December meeting. We decided to get somebody on who was very relevant for January from the committee. No, it's not a PT trainer. It's actually an accountant. So we've got Michelle Allen from Access Accounts. So we're delighted Michelle's going to be with us. And Michelle's agreed to stick around to support you for the Business Show Big Quiz.
Support, yeah. Great, need that.
Very much needed. We've then got the Grants for You section, who gives a book. We're delighted that Phil from Radio Newark, one of our patrons, is going to join us for a chat about what lies ahead for Radio Newark in 2025.
Excellent.
And then we'll look ahead to the January meeting.
So
packed old quiz and show as ever. And if I can get my teeth and my tongue and my mouth working properly, we might get through this.
We're okay. It's all good. So what's happening first then?
So last month's highlights. So last year's last month highlights. What happened in December?
Last month, so we had a festive roving mic, which basically just meant we did the roving mic with some festive music in the background, but it worked quite well.
Yep.
We had our patron sponsor speaking, so we had Mark Degnan, who's the Technical and Operations Service Director at the Barcode Warehouse. He gave us a bit of an insight into some of the stuff that they're doing at the moment. Yep. Our new member spotlight, so we heard from Susan Parker from the Newark Services Club CIC. We had a double dose of table networking, Lots of table networking. We gave 4 books away as part of the Who Gives a Book, which we'll mention in a bit. And we gave away some Christmas gifts as well. So everyone that was in the meeting got the new calendar. They got a new notepad as well. So yeah, it was nice to give a few bits away.
And if I remember rightly, we had Not My Monkey giving us all some brilliant sweet treats as well.
Well remembered. And yeah, big shout out to Kevin and Les and the team at Not My Monkey for that. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get as many cakes as I wanted to that morning, but they looked fantastic.
Oh, they were. I was a bit of a sort of minesweeper around the tables. Made sure I tested every single one.
Fantastic.
And of course, last month we also had the Harlexton event. So we had 2 events last month.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that. We had over 100 people come over to the Harlexton Christmas event that we've done now for the last few years. We had Ricky Locke, who was the keynote speaker, did a bit of magic for us, also gave us a bit of a message about customer service and kind of the idea of this kind of world-class customer service and remembering. We had some people singing there, lots of great food. So, lots of good feedback on that event. And, it certainly got me feeling festive.
Absolutely. A great end to the year, both at Harlexton and at the Business Club meeting.
It was, yeah.
So here we are, January 2025. Are we ready?
Can't believe it. Yes, no, absolutely. Filled with optimism, as I wrote in the Newark Advertiser column earlier this week. I think it's an exciting year ahead. I think there's clearly some challenges Absolutely. For businesses. Which I was told to kind of dose down when I originally wrote that article for the Newark Advertiser.
Oh, really?
But there's challenges ahead. I think, as we've talked about, Michael, on several of the podcasts, collaboration is key. I think people working together, people supporting each other. And, ultimately, I think, if we can share ideas, and that's where Newark Business Club comes into play. It's not just about going there and suddenly expecting to get an order or, you know, someone to go and buy something from you. It's about the connections you make. It's about the long-term relationships, and hopefully people thinking about creating sustainable businesses for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of jokingly mentioned about PT, and we all know that gyms and leisure centres are full at this time of year as people race to sort of go, I've got to get fit after Christmas, and then February it wanes and March. And it's the same for business. You've got to get yourself ready for 2025. You've got to get that plan in place. You've got to be fit for the year ahead, understand the challenges, understand the opportunities, and then don't let it wane, then keep that going. And one of the reasons, obviously, Michelle's on the committee, but when we were chatting about, you know, what's relevant for January, accountancy is a huge part of that, setting the year up in the right way. So it's probably a good time to say hello to Michelle and introduce Michelle Allen from Access Accounts and our treasurer of the club as well.
Which we're talking about. We're kind of blessed on our committee, obviously having two accountants sit on our committee. But I did joke before that I have sat on other committees where, you know, people that have taken that treasurer role couldn't count. No, it's great to have you on board. So I guess, Michelle, from your point of view, tell us a bit about, I guess, from the Access Account side of things, a bit more about you and the business.
Yeah, great to be here again, guys. So I took over Access Accounts about 7 years ago, nearly 8 years ago now. It was a business already set up in Newark, and we've kind of held that close. It's owned by me and my husband, Simon, so it's all about family. We're a family-run business. We want to work with family-run businesses. We understand how that works, and it's great that two of the team that were there from the start are still with us now, and we've bolstered that. There's now 6 of us. So we offer sort of bookkeeping, accountancy and tax services all through the year, not just January, although January is clearly one of our busiest times of the year, as everyone over Christmas panics that they haven't sent all their paperwork in for their tax return. And over the next week or so, I expect to have lots of people coming to our office, which is also here in the Navigation Business Centre. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of the times of the year where people go, oh, right, it's fine. I'll just wait until like the last week of January and send it over. And I've had conversations with you towards the end of January just going, don't talk to me. Yeah. Just leave us alone for a little bit because we've got so much to do.
Absolutely. And I was saying to my gym club as well that classes-wise, I will do my best because consistency is key with everything. Yep. But January, you may not see me quite so much at classes.
So actually at gyms in January, there's not many accountants there.
No,
I've not thought about it that way.
Although it's great to go because it gives you that headspace and that time out and that ability to just step away from things. And sometimes you really need that, especially as a business owner. Yeah. So I like Tuesday nights is my sacred kettlebell night. Okay. And there's nothing stops me from going to kettlebells really. So, there's nothing like throwing a 20 kilo weight around and blowing some steam off. So, yeah. Sounds
like a great plan. And then, of course, we get to the end of January and then you can celebrate and hopefully do some kettlebells again or have some champagne.
Absolutely. That's it. There's no diets for accountants in January. We need all those chocolates and biscuits. The exercise goes downhill and we're not doing dry January either.
Sounds great. So you're from February, basically. Yeah, that's the focus.
Absolutely.
No, sounds good. And then I guess from a business club perspective, so currently, and again, thank you for all the support that you give to the committee. You're currently our treasurer, but previously you were chair as well.
Absolutely. So about 11 years ago, I was chair. Really? So I know this because I stepped down just before I had my son. Of course. It will have been around my birthday because my birthday's early April and our AGM is always April. So I stepped down planning to have a baby in the middle of May. So I said to everyone as I stepped down, I'll see you all at the May meeting. Unbeknownst to me, my son had decided to come on the 23rd of April. So I know now he's 9, he'll be 10 this year. So, yeah. Wow, okay. So that's how I can judge how long
I was going to mention your birthday, actually, because your birthday is the start of the tax year, isn't it?
April the 5th of April. Yeah, the end of the tax year. So,
right,
yes.
Okay. And isn't that the same day? Was it the same day as your dad's?
No, it was who's I can't remember. I did a whole presentation on it last year.
Yeah, there was other people but I love the fact that actually you can relate that. It was like almost from birth. That
absolutely.
Was your destiny.
I was 10 days late, you see, so I held on. It was like it was destined from the beginning. So, and
I guess with your son, you were like, you know what, you're not going to be an accountant, so we're going to just change the date.
Yeah, absolutely. Although he would very much like to be an accountant, and we have a desk in the office which is Elijah's desk. That's my son, and he comes in and he's worked out the team very well, and he offers to motivate rate them all by food. So he tells them if they do so many tasks, he will give them a snack. If they do double that task, he will provide them with lunch.
Tell you what,
I think that's what we did with the kids when they were younger, wasn't it?
So yeah.
Tell you what, he's got a job ahead of him, hasn't he?
He has.
Great. Did you kind of lend him out to other businesses?
Absolutely.
Another professional service from Access Accounts.
Fantastic. Yeah. So in terms of where we are, start of January,
yep.
What's your best advice to a business owner?
So I would say have up-to-date real-time financial information as best as you can. So if you're bringing your paperwork to an accountant in January, it's already nearly a year out of date. So all I can do is put it together and tell you what the tax liabilities are. I can do little else with it. However, if you've got current information, you can ask us questions along the way and we can give you real advice based on what's actually happening in your business. And it's so much easier these days. You don't have to have spreadsheets. You don't have to have old books and things to write it in. You can do everything off your phone, off your tablet, off your PC. Cloud software, AI is basically revolutionising our world. And it's moving at such a pace. So you might not like finance, but if you can use a phone, you can pretty much do all of your accounting, you know, your sales invoicing, taking photos of your purchase invoices, manage the bank. There's so many things you can do that allows us to give you better advice and allows you to run your business better and more efficiently and get the best out of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just thinking back to some of my old roles and the amount of receipts I used to have and have to carry around and, you know, and actually you're right, you can just scan stuff as you go, get it onto the system and then actually it's uploaded within seconds. Absolutely,
and gone are the days, you know, typically we have quite a lot of people in the construction trade and if we were lucky they might throw their receipts in a box in the van and once a year they come out. And these receipts are on really poor quality paper. If we can still read them 10 months later, it's a miracle. They've faded in the sun or whatever. Yeah. You don't need to do that. Take a photo on your phone there and then, done, gone. And that's it.
Well, having worked in that industry for a short period of time, I can tell you about direct thermal labels and receipts, and actually they're not meant to last. That's the point. It's done so that it can be disposable.
Yeah.
And actually that's not great because, you know, like you say, sometimes you'll be given those receipts and it's just faded. You
Absolutely.
Can't read anything. So.
Yeah, you can't. You're like, I can see it's a petrol receipt. Not quite. It could be a 5. It could be an 8. You know. It's
Where's
really
the VAT?
Yes.
Is there any? Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Okay.
And, you know, and then you scan these things into some software, it's got OCR readers in, it recognises suppliers, it populates the numbers, so it reduces the amount of human error because unfortunately we are all human, we are all busy. You can transpose the figures, you can miss a digit off.
Yep.
But the systems are doing it all for you. It's making life so much more efficient.
And like you say, it's real-time information. It's stuff that actually, from a management information perspective, it's going to help people run their business, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, if you want an idea of what your tax bill might be, I can say, well, looking at 9 months or whatever, that's where you're at. What do we think is going to happen for the next 3 months? It's much better than going, oh, well, let's look at last year's figures. Do we think we're about the same or up or down? You know, it's much more accurate.
Yeah. And I guess before the start of the podcast today, we were talking about cash flow. We were talking about actually, you know, the idea of cash is king. We talked about it in the December podcast. What is one of the biggest challenges for businesses in December? Cash flow. So I guess, you know, the more information that people can have, the more they're going to work with people like yourself that can help them with that throughout the year. The more it's going to improve their chances of having cash in the bank.
Absolutely, you know, and we can sort of work with them. And I always advise clients if they can to have a second bank account, tax savings account, move it out of your normal trading account, out of sight, out of mind. And then that means when that bill does appear, you can say, oh, that's all right, I've got so much or I've covered it already. Yep. You know, so we can work with you on that as well.
I think that's really important, actually. Yeah. Having more than one bank account, which sounds quite scary because it's like, crikey, I can't manage one bank account, so how am I going to manage 2 or 3? But actually having money put away in the right place for the time that you need it, because how many businesses get a tax bill, whether it be VAT on a quarterly basis, annual corp tax, etc., and they're suddenly going, oh, God, I haven't got that money. Why have I not got that money?
Yeah.
And it's only because everything's in the same place. Cash flow is so difficult to manage at the best of times. for large businesses and small businesses, everybody has the same challenges. They pay out and nobody pays them.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got the money put away, then, it suddenly puts pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I think if you see one balance in one bank account, you think, oh, I've got X amount of money. And you haven't, because actually so much of that is for that tax bill and so much is for that. So actually, if you can keep filtering that bit out, because especially VAT is not your money. You're just acting as a collector for HMRC. And I think businesses often forget that. They're like, oh, why does HMRC want this off me? Well, because you're doing a free job for them. You're collecting their taxes and then paying it over to them. And so particularly VAT is one to absolutely move to one side.
Like the advice.
Yeah, perfect. Anything else?
I think the big thing coming up, particularly for smaller businesses, is something called Making Tax Digital, which is kind of harnessing this revolution into AI and cloud software. So small businesses are going to be pushed into filing returns quarterly, like businesses that are VAT registered. So from April 2026, if you're 50,000 turnover or more, and that's turnover, so your sales, you are going to have to file a return with HMRC quarterly. But I would say get on that as soon as possible. April 25 is not too soon to get prepared, because come April 26, everyone's going to want to do it. So use your accountants now. The big software houses are ready. They've got teams helping you get set up, providing online training and stuff, and get ahead of the game and be prepared so that this January next year, you know what your taxes are, you're aware, and you're ready for a new system coming into place. So don't see it as you're being told to file something quarterly. See it as something that can help your business, particularly small businesses. It can really help with cash collection. So if you're the kind of business that goes out, quotes and invoices at somebody's household, you can do all that on your phone and even get paid before you leave the house with this software, rather than going back home, typing out an invoice on Word, emailing it over, sending your bank details. You can go, here's your quote, Mrs. Smith. Do you accept it? They accept it there. You then send the invoice from that quote, and you can even tap to pay on one of the many payment processing places, all on your phone. Yeah. And it's done.
So the tech is there.
Yeah.
You're there to help and support businesses and advise them on maybe that tech, if it's new to them. Okay, sounds good.
And 50,000 turnover is not a huge amount, is it? Let's be honest.
No, absolutely. And it's 50,000 now, and it's going to drop to 30,000 after that.
Okay.
So it's coming. At the minute, it's just filing a return. You're not having to pay your tax quarterly. I would guess that's coming at some point. It seems unusual that they would ask you to file something quarterly and not ask for any money. HMRC are denying that at the minute, but let's face it, they need money.
Yeah, they want a more balanced income, don't they? Because they get such a spike in January in their income. That's not actually the best way. Going back to cash flow from a country perspective, it's not ideal that they're waiting that long.
It's not, and I think, personally, it's not ideal paying your tax once or twice a year, because it's a big spike. So even if you're setting it aside again, you're paying it, you're just holding on to it, and it's not that big lump all of a sudden that you didn't expect.
Okay, fantastic. Well, look, there's loads and loads of stuff there, Michelle. Really helpful, and I know that you can carry on. You can speak all morning.
Absolutely, I love the subject. So anyone feel free to grab me at a business club meeting or give me a call or something.
Great, sounds good. And thank you once again. On behalf of the whole business club for everything you do. Thoroughly love the facts about what's happening in April. There was some facts about beans last time.
Absolutely.
I've got
hatred. It's called leguminophobia, same as Pythagoras. I hate baked beans. I think his was fava beans. Wow. But yes,
something
can't
about
stand
mathematicians them. As well.
Absolutely, I've clearly got something in common there.
I'm moving on quickly.
I don't know how to. I'm not even going to write that word down. But,
right, what's coming up next?
I think we've got a quiz about beans.
We have indeed.
Excellent.
It's amazing how this all works together. Michelle, thank you very much. I'm delighted that you're helping Simon with today's business show big quiz.
Not about beans.
Oh, I didn't get I was hoping for some music, but I forgot.
Oh, yeah, we've not done the jingle yet.
I actually went into ChatGPT and said, can you create me a jingle? And it came back saying how to create it. but not the actual jingle. So I was quite disappointed.
You didn't use those instructions to go and create a jingle then?
No, because I only did it at 30 minutes before we started.
We'll work on it.
So I've got the instructions, I've just not got the...
Well, we actually have one of our team in the office. Her husband can create music and does a bunch of stuff. So I joked, I think it was a Christmas party or just before, about doing some for our whole music. And actually, he's gone and created that. So leave that with me, Michael. Leave that with me.
Next time.
Brilliant. Right, then let's get on with our quiz. All the questions relevant for business owners in some way or other. And this is not about Simon and Michelle getting the answers right. It's about the discussion that goes with it. That's my New Year's way of trying to take some pressure off yourself.
And you said and Michelle.
Yes.
It's not about Simon getting them wrong.
Okay, so question number one. What is splitting the G?
Splitting the G is the reason that the country has run out of Guinness, Michael.
Yes.
Well done.
I only know this as a fairly new Guinness drinker. And the reason that I liked the idea of drinking Guinness was because I noticed that a couple of the people that I was out with couldn't manage to split the G. And being rather competitive, I went, I fancy a go at that. And everyone went, but you don't drink Guinness. And I went, yeah, but I'm competitive and I want to do that. So the idea is that the G on the Guinness on the branded glass, as part of your first sip, I don't know how many sips you're allowed.
One sip.
The idea is that you split the drink and it lands perfectly on the G.
Oh, wow.
Which I managed to do on the first couple of attempts and then suddenly decided that I liked Guinness. But apparently that was the same as quite a lot of people in the country, which is why lots of pubs over Christmas ran out of Guinness. Lots of supermarkets ran out of Guinness. Which, I guess we can link this into marketing. We can talk about supply and demand.
And exactly that. So, you've given the perfect answer. So, well done. Fantastic. It's caused a sales surge. They're limiting stocks to pubs around the country because they haven't got enough stock in the country. And I think what this shows is what even a brand that's got as much heritage and history and could be seen as, if you think about the sort of Gen Zs of today and their own social ways of being, very different from mine as, very much I was in the sort of young pub generation, and that's changed a lot for loads of different reasons, and some would say for the better, but Guinness would not be seen as a young person's drink. It certainly wouldn't be seen, we talk about Alka Pops, etc. And yet Guinness is the, I think it's currently on the latest Kantar data, was showing as being the biggest draft alcohol drink in the UK.
Wow,
that's impressive.
The latest, and this is using social media, using different ways to market your brand in the modern world to an influencer generation. And splitting the G is something that I saw. My daughter's massively into music, and Renee Rapp is quite a big social a singer and actress, and and even on the BBC they were using Renee Rapp as the example, showing a TikTok of her on stage at a gig.
No way.
Where she got 5 pints of Guinness, one for each member of the group, and they were all trying to do it on stage.
5 pints by themselves.
No.
That would be impressive.
So the 5 of them stood on stage and all tried to do it in front of an audience, and obviously filmed it and posted it. And it creates and just like yourself, Simon. Competitive instinct. Somebody sees somebody else trying to do something. I want to do it. Yeah. So whatever our business is. Whether we think that we're, not fit for purpose in terms of social media or for the generation, if you can find the edge, if you can get yourself into the right hands and and put it across in the right way, you can engage people at all levels and all ages. So marketing, social media, it's relevant to everybody.
Yep.
Don't dismiss it, embrace it. Because if Guinness, who it's a massive brand, and it would not be seen as a modern Gen Z brand.
No, and the last time I saw this effect on supermarket shelves was the Prime drink.
Yes.
And actually it felt like, because it wasn't available, it created a further demand.
Well, of course it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it was like, I want it. And that's what it's kind of felt a little bit like.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, scarcity is one of the big selling points.
Yep.
You've got 3 days to buy it. We've only got 4 left, etc.
Yeah.
So, well done, Simon.
Well done.
And just shows, so all business owners out there, think about how you can engage the marketing of your brand or your business through social media.
And on another note, if anyone knows any place in around Newark that has a pint of Guinness anywhere, it'd be great to find out.
Oh, brilliant. Just for Simon. Okay, question number 2. How much did wage inflation grow in 3 months to October?
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not a clue.
I mean, wages have increased. People have had to. There is a fight for talent. Again, from a recruitment background, we see that even on a local level. Percentages, right?
I don't know.
So we're talking from what, August
To
through
October.
October.
August, September, October. Yeah.
What have we seen? 10%.
Sounds reasonable. Yeah.
Good guess. 5.2%.
5.2%. It's again, this is really difficult at the moment. Obviously, right around that time, we were waiting for lots of information that was coming from the budget.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was happening. Lots of people, again, accountants I was speaking to, it was, are we going to see NI increase? Are we going to see it on just the salary? Are we going to see that just on the pension? So, how's that going to look? And I mean, we genuinely do have such a difference from a recruitment perspective.
Yeah.
We have people that are just going, right, fine, we're going to pay a lot more because we know we need to get the talent. And then we have people that are holding back and going, well, we're not, because we're going to wait and see what happens. So, okay.
So linked to that, your favourite question. So I've brought
Inflation.
that back. Yeah. What was November's inflation figure?
Hadn't we dropped slightly?
I think so. By
Only a tiny amount.
0.25% or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just think. Okay, so you're right. It's been going down. What's the target inflation number that the Bank of England are trying to get to? So if you think about that as your base level, and then where we are against that.
Is it 2? 2%
So
target.
that's the target.
That's the target, okay.
Good.
So are we above or below that?
I think
Above.
we're slightly. I think we're slightly below, aren't we?
We're above.
We're above. Okay, there we go. It's 50-50.
It's a good tag team. This.
Yeah. Between us.
We're still a bit above, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that much above.
No, 2.2.
2.6.
2.6%. Okay. It's coming down.
It is coming down, and it's. I think though the reason I raise these two things, and going back to some of the stuff we talked about with Michelle and where we are in January, is we're obviously going into 2025 on the back of a budget that has changed the perspective for businesses on some of the costs. And if we're talking to really small businesses, remember that the NI impact only really comes into effect if you've got more than 5 or 6 employees.
Yeah, I think they quoted exactly. I think it was 4 full-time employees, didn't they?
Yeah.
But,
so if you've got 4, 5, or 6 employees, you potentially have very little or no increase in NI costs.
Yeah.
So there's a danger that the small employees employers who have 2 or 3 employees are worried about an increase that's not actually there. It's really important to say that. But for big businesses or anybody who's got more than 6 employees, there is a significant cost increase through NI.
Absolutely.
Through the lowering of the threshold and the increasing of the percentage. So we've got all of that coming ahead. We've got inflation that's still running at 2.5%. We've got wage inflation, which is ahead of that. The problem with wage inflation is that that's costing you more money and costing you more on NI and tax and other things. And puts pressure on your cost base, which means you potentially have to put your costs up, which impacts inflation. And because of all of this, the Bank of England aren't reducing the interest rates. So the interest rates, which were at 5.25, which came down to 4.75, that everybody predicted would be going down to 3% by the end of this year, are unlikely to move. Maybe 4.5% by the end of the year. But that's a real unknown, because we've had 2 months now of negative GDP performance, which suggests that, as we come out of Christmas, and if people can't sell Guinness, then that's going to put a pressure on the GDP of the country. So all of these things are adding uncertainty to the market going ahead. And I think go back to, we talk about getting fit and, going to the PT and doing things differently in January. From a business perspective, from a finance perspective, just ensure you understand all the impacts on your business and where that's going to take you, because there's going to be a lot of pressures from business owners. And we joked before about not being too negative. We don't want to be negative. We want to be realistic. And doing nothing is not the answer. You have to take some real stock about, are you actually charging enough? What are your suppliers doing about their costs? Are your costs going to go up as well as everything else? And can you really stand still on your retail selling price of whatever you're selling? Because if you can't, then you need to change it. And if you can, great, but just be really careful.
Yeah, and that's where having real-time information is absolutely key, because it's no good making that decision when your accounts are done 6, 7, 8 months later, because the moment's passed and you might be in trouble by then. Whereas if you've got that information that can be broken down monthly by product, by service, by region, whatever, you can make real decisions and stand by them.
And I think, again, we talked about the idea of sharing that information around. If you've got trusted people around you, other business connections, people are all in. Well, I made this analogy with, I had a meeting with someone before Christmas, actually, and we talked about the idea of everyone being in the same boat. And I actually said, well, no, we're all in the same sea. We're all in different boats.
Absolutely.
But I think there's people there that will be in a better situation than you, but might be able to guide you. There'll be people there that aren't, and you might be able to guide them. So I think, again, Newark Business Club, other business area clubs, other spaces where people can get together and share that information is massively important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is so important. Collaboration, communication, and having real-time information.
Yeah.
Also
that rhymed
important
as well, Michael.
Oh.
Collaboration, real-time information.
I feel a rap coming on.
Don't get me started. Okay.
No, really don't.
Question number 3. So the final question for today. What 2 items caused Lidl's 7% Christmas growth?
Ooh.
Did they have stock of Guinness?
No, I'm not sure. They probably do stock it, but
It won't be Guinness.
It won't be
It'll
Guinness.
something else.
They actually, anyway, I'm not going to promote anyone.
Today's business show sponsored by.
Oh, what 2 items? I mean, is it something random down the middle aisle, or?
Oh, it's got to.
I bet it's a pigs in blankets styley thing.
Do you know what? The one in Newark had so many left in.
Really?
Yeah, like 3 fridges full of pigs in blankets.
Yeah. Oh, didn't they have that? Did they do that big T-bone beef joint thing? Thor's hammer.
They
Was
might
that
have
them?
done.
Cote de Boeuf.
Well, you've got one of them right.
Oh, the pigs in blankets.
Pigs in blankets.
Yeah, very popular.
Well, they've still got some left. So if you would, I personally think pigs in blankets are for life, not just for Christmas.
I agree.
They should be used all the way throughout the year. Okay, so pigs in blankets and.
I'm trying to think what else.
It's in line with something we've already discussed lots in the quiz.
What else? Have
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fizz.
Fizz.
Okay.
Fizz.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pigs in blankets was the headline, but it's party food is
Party
is
food.
Okay.
Yeah.
big growth part. They said I read something that said that they sold a turkey a second in December.
Wow.
Which I sort of like. I'm sort of you're sort of trying to get your head around that and go, surely that's not right. And maybe it was just how it was worded, because maybe a pig's in blankets a second, but a turkey a second. I mean, it just beggars belief. But so their growth was 7%, and and I think again they're on track to become the 5th biggest supermarket, overtake Morrison's.
Wow.
Wow.
To put that into perspective of where they've come from over the last few years. And look, I think that again shows some of the challenges for people. They're looking for where they get value for money, where they spend their money.
Yeah.
And Lidl and Aldi are certainly seen as good retailers for that.
I mean, it's probably one of the only supermarkets where you can go and buy your pigs in blankets and a wheelbarrow and a Christmas tree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All Christmas shopping done in one place.
Absolutely. So anyway, so that's the quiz. So that was good. You did well today, Simon. Thank you, Michelle, for your assistance.
Sounds good. Happy with that one.
Right, so shall we say goodbye to Michelle?
Yep.
Let her go and get back onto the day job. And
that's it. Got some tax returns to tick off the list.
Sounds like a plan. Well, thank you again very much for everything you do for the business club. And we hope you have a really fun January and you still manage to get some kettlebell time in.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I'll see you all on Friday.
Indeed.
See you at the business club. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay, that was great with Michelle. So next section is Grants for the Memories.
Grants for the Memories.
Grants for the Memories, which is provided by Newark and Sherwood District Council. Will Parkinson there has sent us 2 more grants that are available for local businesses. As we always say, these are 2 of many. And if you want to find out what grants are available that might be specific for you as a business owner, then please contact Will Parkinson at Newark and Sherwood District Council. The 2 that he sent us this month, the first one is Material Focus, Electricals Recycling Fund. So grants available to support organisations that test creative and practical methods for collecting unwanted electricals within the UK. It's an annual fund provided by Material Focus, an independent not-for-profit organisation whose mission is to ensure that electricals are reused and recycled rather than being hoarded or thrown away. Different funding options are available, up to £50,000 for projects aiming to create innovative new approaches to repairing, reusing, recycling electricals. More details for eligible projects can be found on Material Focus website. Projects should be at least a year long and applications will be accepted from private companies, local authorities or charities. And in our sort of, sustainability and environmental piece, we always talk nowadays about, the throwaway generation. Mm-hmm. You buy something, use it until it's run out of use and then no repairs, just chuck it. So obviously this is somebody trying to change that and make sure that we recycle and reuse.
Or hoard it like me. So yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
So if that's something that's within your business arc, then please contact them. And the second one, again, on the sort of sustainability and environmental, is the Green Tech Fund. So this is about support available for clean tech startup businesses that seek to utilise technology to restore environmental balance and biodiversity to tackle global warming. Up to £100,000 support is on offer from Simons & Simons, aiming to prompt the development of businesses that use technology to mitigate, adapt or reverse the effects of human activity on the environment. There's 5 businesses that get chosen, applications up until the 31st of January, and their business must have been founded for sustainability related purposes.
Okay,
so good. Again, focused on the environment. So they're 2 really interesting and very 2025 grants. And if you're interested in either of them, then contact Will. And if they don't quite fit you, then again contact Will Parkinson at Newark and Sherwood District Council.
Great stuff. And of course we did see Will Parkinson in the flesh. The real Will Parkinson joined us last month to tell us about some of the grants, and he has promised to come back in 2025, so we'll see him. But in the meantime, like you say, if you've got any interest in those grants, or if you'd like to see any other grants that might be applicable to your business, and again, these are a range. We've obviously run through stuff that's anything from £1,000 to £1 million over the last 12 months. So get in touch with Newark and Sherwood District Council and speak to Will Parkinson and the Economic Development team.
Absolutely. Great. So we're now going to introduce our second guest.
Sat to my left.
Your left.
It is It's all right.
me.
We're working it out. It's you.
Is it my left or is it my right? So I don't know. Yeah, it's your left.
It is.
My left.
It is
Yeah.
one of the voices. One of the voices of Radio Newark. One of the voices that I hear in the office all the time. And I'm like, it's Phil. It's Phil again.
And normally I'm not this side of the camera because I'm over there recording everybody doing this podcast. So it's nice to be sitting on this side of the room.
Yeah. No, I'm usually in one of the buildings in Newark somewhere, and then I hear you on the radio.
Well, how are we all?
Very well. It's important to also say Radio Newark, one of the patron sponsors of the business club as well, which we're obviously delighted with.
Of course, and hence the opportunity that we've had over the past 12 months working with you and the team here at Radio Newark to create the Business Show podcast, obviously in collaboration with the business club and working with your team. So thank you very much for that.
I was saying to you on the phone when you mentioned this to me, you said, why don't you come on the podcast? And I thought, it must be nearly a year then since, because we started this a year ago. Was it in the first 3 months?
Over. It was it February? I think it might have been February, the first one. And of course it was you. Yeah, I think you were the first guest as our patron, one of our patron sponsors then.
And we were in a completely different building then, weren't we?
Yes,
you were
at the school.
Yes, yeah. And we moved in the summer into this brand new building, this very old building. We tarted our little area up here, and the Navigation Business Centre is where we live, and it's a very interesting, quirky building with lots of history and a pub built in. So
with or without Guinness. But and I think it's working really well, isn't it, in terms of this space for you as well. You've got a few other collaborations in the pipeline, I understand. There's other stuff where you might be broadcasting from in the future.
Yeah, well, in the school in Barnby Road School, we had 2 studios, which, to be fair, in this 21st century broadcast area, you don't always need them because people broadcast from wherever they are. Yeah. So it's lovely to have a studio, but we had 2. They weren't getting used as much as we thought they were going to get used. So we thought, if we're going to move, why don't we have a rethink? Obviously, we've used one of the studios here for this purpose, so we broadcast from here, and you very kindly use it for your ends. But the other one is actually living in Newark College.
Okay.
So they had a bit of a swing around as well in the summer because the ASI team moved out of Newark College and have gone into a dedicated building, as we know. Yeah. And they left quite a large area in the college for the media studies team to move into. So at this point, they moved in upstairs to where ASI was, and they had a room. And we said, well, why don't we put Radio Newark's second studio with you in that room? So the other one of these is that he's living with Newark College, and the reason why we've asked them to put it there is that we're hoping to be able to broadcast live from the college at certain times of the month, maybe even of the week, alongside the students. And they have an open day for their senior team on the I'll get this right now. I think it's the 20th. I completely get it wrong. Hey, I'll get it right. It's the 20th of this month, of January. They're going to be opening officially their media studies suite, and Radio Newark will be broadcasting from that between 10 and 4 that day. So it's going to be quite nice, actually.
Excellent.
I love that. And I think, again, one of the things that worked really well previously at the school was that actually some of the students got exposure to stuff that actually was outside the syllabus. It was outside what usually you would get exposure to because you've created that. So actually to have a live studio, and I know, having worked with the Newark College and some of the students as well, there's lots of great stuff that they're doing, but to have a live radio studio where they can gain additional exposure and see how it's all working, I mean, that's amazing. Yeah.
We hope that they're going to really enjoy it. And I think there's 2 or 3 students in the new intake for this last year that want to be journalists as well, which is quite nice because we have a second collaboration with the Newark Advertiser. So this has recently started, where the Newark Advertiser, their journalists actually provide breakfast and afternoon news bulletins on Radio Newark. So if you listen at 789, 456, you'll hear their journalists actually on air providing their. I think they've put it onto their website as their bulletin. It's like a morning kind of news briefing. It is. Okay. So you've got an audio version of that on the radio, which you can hear, as I say, 7, 8, 9, 4, 5 and 6 weekdays. And the Advertiser are very keen, obviously, with working with the college and the students there as well for future upcoming talent into journalism. So we're hoping that a lot of this will come together quite nicely now and make sense.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. And back to mine and Michael's favourite word of 2024, it's another example of great collaboration.
Absolutely.
Working in play.
Yeah, so that is kind of what we've been working on. We were a little bit disappointed, as many of the townspeople were, when we couldn't broadcast live from the Christmas light switch on, because we always do that. But we had, obviously, the weather put pay to that. But we did actually broadcast live from the town centre just before Christmas, so we managed to keep things going with that as well. It's really important to be out and about as often as possible.
Absolutely.
With our team of volunteers, they are fantastic. We're starting to grow our team now again, because I had a couple of years where people have come and gone and have had other things to do. So we're kind of hoping that this year's one where we can boost our team as well. So
excellent.
Yeah. So that's kind of in essence what we're kind of working on at the minute, and it's just nice to see that this collaboration is working really nicely with the business club, because I love doing this every month. I think it's really nice to have Radio Newark as part of this process, and hopefully the online content, whether it be you listen on the radio or you watch this as a proper kind of video podcast, we're very happy to be part of it.
Yeah, and it always amazes me when I'm doing my car park duty. The amount of people who come up and go, I've just been listening to you on my way in, and and brings it home to you that we do have our community listening to us, and it's part that the business club starts for them when they get in the car and start driving to the venue, rather than just when they walk through the door. And I think that's really great.
And like you say, with the video content as well, we've started playing that as part of the meeting as well. So that video content, which you kindly put together for us as well, that then gets played as people are walking into the meeting. So again, it's those reference points. Yes, as the best car park attendant in Newark is...
I'm not sure where he is, but
it's about being multifaceted, isn't it? Because radio's kind of, people see it as a kind of an old-fashioned medium, but radio listening is its strongest in this country that it's ever been.
Wow. Okay.
And that's kind of weird, because we naturally think that it's for the older generation, but latest audience figures, national audience figures, our audience figures online are really strong, and you think, well, people are wanting that human tactile thing. They want to look. If you want to listen to music, you can put a Spotify playlist on. You can do whatever you like. But what seems to be evident is listeners are still wanting the human interaction, and that's where you get radio, because it's the music that you like, it's the information that you may want to know about, but it's a human being talking to you as one. And radio's always had that. Yep. And this is where it is different to podcasts, where you've got podcast celebrities will talk to the whole audience, but radio presenters talk to one person, and it's very different. And we're seeing that radio listening, I think at the moment across the country that 93-94% of the available audience listen to radio every single week.
Wow. Okay.
So hopefully kind of combining that with what we do in the podcast world helps out.
And I think, but again, it sounds like from conversations we've had as well, Radio Newark's quite unique in a way, because there's lots of other radio stations that are kind of amalgamating, there's lots of bigger radio stations, so to have this localised radio still is very relevant. When you're listening to the adverts, they're about places in and around Newark. Yeah. When you're listening to offers, when you're listening to events that are happening, it's not something that's happening in London or Birmingham or Manchester. It's stuff that's happening in our town. So again, I think that's something that, again, lots of people, having wandered around and whether it's businesses and retail units or other places in Newark, I hear Radio Newark all the time. So it is a good opportunity for businesses to actually get their name out.
I think one thing that we've noticed in the past probably 6 months is those that really loved local radio and have lost it because the stations that, I used to be honest, I used to work on Links FM years ago, and that's now gone. It doesn't exist anymore. People that love listening to stations like that feel a bit lost, and they go, "What? Where's my new friend?"
Yeah.
And we've had it quite a lot in the past few months. People actually, talking to us when we're out and about, going, "We've just found you." Now, bearing in mind we've been on 11 years on the radio, 11 years. We just found you because Links FM's gone, or Gem's not the same, or it's gone, or something else has happened. It's good for this station to still be here to do this stuff, but at the same time, those people really want to have that, friendly listen, and hopefully that's where and everybody that's on air lives here. They all know all about this town, and we hope to grow it naturally in the next 12 months.
So you're an overnight success then?
Yes. Yeah, and we're always after volunteers as well, because the other thing is, here's the flip. As you've said, Simon, people listen to it in shops and cafes and wherever. It's lovely, but we think it's actually quite well put together. We hope that it's professional sounding.
Well, except for this hour.
Apart from what we do. But listeners then don't realise that it isn't, and nobody gets paid for this. We're all volunteers. And it also does mean that if you'd like to be part of the organisation, you can volunteer for it. And that doesn't necessarily mean you want to go on air, but you may want to have a slice and see what it's about. And we would love to talk to you. So, sometimes it can be a victim of its own. Oh, that's pretty plush. That sounds, slick. That must be, all encompassing. It must be, it must have a massive budget. No, it hasn't. So, if you can help out in any way, we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, it's like when people think that me, you and Michelle get paid loads from Newark Business Club as well. I think it cost me more money, actually. But
yeah. As we're paying for our entrance fee again.
Yeah, passion fuels everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think that point as well is really valid, that people sort of, because it's such a great radio station that has such an eclectic mix. If you look at everything that it puts out, the different styles and genres, etc., it almost feels like it's very professional. And it is really professional in how it's put together, but it's run by volunteers, and that's got to be quite unique. And we're, again, how often do we say this? We're really lucky to have it in Newark.
Absolutely,
we should embrace it. We should make sure more people sort of talk about it and realise that, and we should embrace it further. So,
well, let's all embrace.
Yes,
that's the key.
Embrace and collaborate. That's the key for 2025.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to stop there as well. We are talking to a number of other local kind of organisations about collaborative efforts, and hopefully very shortly we'll be able to kind of furnish that information out across the town as well. But it's all work in progress.
No, it sounds good. So again, from our perspective, it's thank you so much for the opportunity to obviously be able to host this podcast through, again, collaborating with you guys, and thank you for Radio Newark coming on board again in 2025 as a patron sponsor of Newark Business Club. So massive thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Shall we find out what's next on the podcast?
Absolutely.
What's next on the podcast, Mr. Hardy?
Who gives a book? So we gave away 4 books last month.
Yeah, I had to go back through my notes and go, which books did we... So we always mention that, so Who Gives a Book was a bit of a brainwave, I think just over a year ago, where we said, right, the idea is that there's going to be people in the room that have read books that I haven't, there'd be books that I've read that they haven't, and we can share that information around the room. So the idea was that if people gave me the recommendations, we as the business club would buy the book, we'd give them away. As we've said all the time, people end up giving me books. So I have this library of books that I'm trying to give away. But there was, a range of different books that we gave away at the last meeting. So the first book was Business for Punks. That was by one of the founders of Brewdog, James Watt. So we gave that one away. We gave a couple of the Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business books. Again, they were donated to us by Gifts from Fairies. And then it was to celebrate a big anniversary of the business. It was the Get a Life, the guidebook, originally written by Lisa Whitehead, now Lisa Davies, who is one of the members of the business club that we see a lot. So Lisa gave me a copy of that we handed out as well. So we gave 4 books out. Can't guarantee we're going to do that every month. But we certainly will be giving at least another book away. I've been watching various bits on LinkedIn, other people's posts, books that they've been reading over Christmas. And I actually commented on a few people's posts, people that are connected with Newark Business Club, and said, is that a recommendation? And they went, actually, I was going to message you. So we have got a few new recommendations, which is great. So there'll be some new books going out to people in the January meeting.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to that, and it always goes down well, and we are now starting to see them being shared as well around the room with people who've read them and brought them back, which is fantastic.
Well, that was the plan. We kind of said, look, during my tenure as chair, if it's 3 years, we've got potentially 30 plus books that we're going to give out. If people share those around the room, then again, there could be 50, 60, 70 people that have read something new that, might just be a bit of inspiration. it might change their life. You don't know. So, we'll keep doing it, and it's certainly something that other business clubs have taken on board as well. So that's great to see.
Absolutely. So good, great, and something that you've brought to the table, Simon, which is fantastic. So something hopefully that'll outlast your chairmanship. Not that we're trying to, but just something new and changing. Anyway, moving on quickly. Action Group, so quick update on the Action Group. Our next meeting is on Monday the 27th of January at the Organ Grinder at 6 p.m. Not sure they stock Guinness actually, but there you go.
I'll come and I'll try.
But the Action Group is about collaboration of businesses to ensure that Newark is best for business. Mm-hmm. We've had some real success in lots of different areas. We get engaged by, the A46 Widening Committee, the EML, so the trains, the LNER. We've got the council who come along from planning perspective. So we really do help get a voice for business, and all help and all thoughts and any challenges, please come along, and we're more than happy to discuss and try and point people in the right direction, because that's really important, because it is difficult sometimes to navigate yourself through the different businesses and challenges. And we talk about grants with the councils. The council is really supportive of business, but they have lots of layers and lots of different people that you need to talk to, so helping you get through that is really important.
Yeah, and I think you guys get involved with so many things, and some fairly high profile stuff as well. I think we were talking about one of the last LNER meetings that one of your Action Group members was actually on the train with David Horn, the MD of LNER, and walked to the meeting with him. So and it was nice that he now he knows of us, and that obviously understands what we're trying to do behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just never know where these things lead, and I think the end of
Hopefully
January,
a free train ticket.
Well, maybe. I won't go that far, but at the end of January, East Midlands Railways have their annual conference where they bring together people who have an impact on them as a business, and we get invited to that, and that's at Trent Bridge, and so all of these things are really important to getting our voice and our name out there.
Real.
Okay. What's happening at this month's meeting? So those of you travelling to the YMCA, what are they going to see today, Simon?
So, excuse me, the first meeting sponsor of 2025 is Tritax. So they're the team behind the new developments that are next to GXO Currys, just off that A17 road. Yep. So we're going to hear more about what their plans are, which would be really interesting for some of the businesses in and around the town. We're going to have our roving mic introduction. So again, great opportunity to kind of see who's in the room, some new people in the room, if there's some connections that could be made. We've got our patron sponsor, PT Events, talking to us. So tell us a bit more about who they are, what they do, which is always fun. I'm hoping that your good self is going to provide an Action Group update, Michael, but we'll find out.
And see whether I video it or do it live.
We always like a video. We know there's certain members of the business club that like you in the room as well. So
only certain members.
Any certain members. We all like a good video. I mean, joking aside, actually, some of the videos that you have done over the last year, not the ones that were on the ski slope, but the ones that were around town, really actually brought to life some of the stuff that we're talking about. Because it's one thing saying, right, here's what's happening in the marketplace, here's what's happening near the castle here, but actually when you're stood there and people go, oh yeah, that's what we're doing. Appreciate that it took you probably about 5 hours on your bicycle around town kind of to get to all these different places, but that was actually, it brought everything to life, so it is really useful. We're going to do some table networking, like I say, we've got Who Gives a Book, and then the member spotlight, which is something we put in last year. We're going to hear just a couple of minutes from Catherine Powell, who was picked out at the last meeting from Fusion Graphic Design.
Brilliant, looking forward to it. So if you're on the way, I should be there in my high vis to welcome you outside. No Christmas music this time, obviously.
No, but if you do need a new 2025 calendar, then we have got plenty of those, so come and grab another calendar from us.
Perfect. And looking forward to starting the year on the front foot.
Like we say, there are lots of challenges ahead, but I think collectively we can work through them. I'm certainly very optimistic. As an eternal optimist, I will push forward. But again, this is an opportunity to work with others. But I'm sure you've probably got something inspirational to tell us at the end of this podcast, Michael.
I think the thing I would say to you, ask yourself, are you fit for 25? As a business, personally, and as a network. So is your network fit for 25? Have you got the right people around you? Are you focusing on the people who can help you, support you, and give you that support positively? Are you making sure you're looking after yourself? Because let's be honest, if especially in small businesses, you are the absolute most important person, and without you, the business will really struggle. And then what do you need to do as a business? You know, we've talked about cash flow, we've talked about planning, we've talked about tax. All of those things need to be together. So are you fit for 25?
I'm not going to answer that. Working on it. Work in progress.
Perfect.
Great stuff. Well, no, thank you again, Michael. It's been another great podcast. Thank you again so much to you, Phil, for the opportunity to do this, and obviously, like we say, for being a patron sponsor as well. And I think that's us done for January.
Thank you to Michelle, and thank you, Simon, for being the host.
Brilliant. See you next month.
Have a great month, everybody. All the best.
Now.